Welcome back to the Forex Fortress, of which we have a new week of actually completely new opportunities. And as always, we'll be covering up on all of the major US dollar pairings, plus a little bit of Bitcoin action as well. I should let you know that we are live currently on Twitch. We've been live for the last 2 hours or so now, having some good times, playing some Doom, ripping and tearing everything, and having a great conversation with this logic troll as well. And with that said, we'll start off with good old Dixie as always. And what do we see on Dixie? Well, once again, Dixie grinding out the bottom side area that we overlaid over the last few weeks here, of which I'd be looking for to do a little bit more grinding on this area, more grinding and tearing, if you will. And if we go down to the daily, yes, I would be looking for this area to get filled out quite a fair bit more. You know, it looks like it actually did just kind of test back down towards the 18th of towards the 18th of December's open right there, and I'll be looking for this one to just kind of ebb to and flow based off the weekly and hold this area right here. And yes, I do still look at this as a likely bottoming area for a medium-term reversal. I would not call a long-term or macro reversal on this just yet, and that likely does coincide with the next time that we do see pretty much all major assets in the world markets come down once again. But more importantly, with how it's going right now, I would be looking for this to trade a little bit sideways here over the next few weeks and then give another try to the upside. Of course, long term, it is still very much under pressure. We do see a death cross right here on the weekly. The big bad breakdown happened about 6 weeks ago, right on over here. That's what switched our posturing to bearish, at least as long as, you know, this area was holding up. I was willing to look at that as a potential reversal point. Looks like it didn't happen, and so onwards and forwards we go. But for now, I would be defensive against a bounce essentially from this region over the next few weeks, maybe over the next month or two, and then probably game on once again, as long as Dixie does not get back above the breakdown point, the prior breakdown point that is, of 92.25. I would essentially still look at this as, well, overall bearish. So with that in mind, let's go on and down the list, start off with Aussie dollar, and let's see what Aussie dollar is doing right now. And on the daily, what do we see? We do see a little bit of a short-term rejection here. Does look like it wants to probably trade back down towards the lows of last week, about 75.37 region. Looking at momentum oscillators, actually they tell a bit of a different story. We do see daily Stokes headed down, but that's not necessarily a terrible read in my experience. What I like more is actually daily RSI, which is giving me a hidden bullish divergence signal here from this point. Yeah, from this point right here to this point right here, which does make sense. And that, well, that's already played out, to be fair. So yes, I would look for this one to come back down and likely tag actually back down towards about 75.30. Yeah, 75.35 short term, and then I want to see it after that. I wouldn't necessarily have any calls on the medium term or higher term timeframes, as they are still kind of in limbo here. I'm looking for this one to trade sideways and down on the short term, and then we'll come back to it later. Now, there is one obvious trade here. If we take out last week's low, I would look for a more prolonged reversal back down to the 21 exponential moving average on the weekly here, which would be down around 73 cents. So that's quite a big trade right there. But as long as that condition's not met, I kind of approach this area with caution, as this technically would be a good area to put in another macro high if the downtrend is continue long term, especially coinciding with a Dixie major low getting put in potentially on a medium or higher term time frame there. Anyways, moving on to CAD dollar, what do we see? 77.92 trading, and weekly not getting much off this right here. Can kind of go both ways on this one. Yes, there is bearish divergence between this point and this point. I'd say the easy part of that move's already played out. The next target would be 76.50 or 76.47 actually on the weekly schedule. Daily, however, does look like it wants a little bit of short term up here, so it is contrary to what we see on Aussie dollar. In fact, short term, I'll be looking for this one to pop back up towards 78.35, 78.37 region, and then I want to see it after that. But short term is up, medium term is up, and weekly is a bit in limbo here. If we do take out last week's low, 77.22, I'd be looking for a similar trade of what we saw in Aussie dollar, and that would imply a further south target, like I said, 76.42. That would be more long term. Short term, however, is a little bit more upside, and then I'd want to see it in real time. Swiss franc dollar, what do we see right here? Weekly is a bit in limbo as well, but long term still very much up. We do see it kind of turning the corner above our February 2018 highs, more importantly, and that does coincide with a long-term macro bullish bias here. Now, could it pull all the way back to the last basing area around 111? Yeah, of course. However, long-term, I'd still be more or less bullish on this. Short-term, what do we see on the 4 hour? Yeah, 4 hour looks like once pop back up, likely back up towards about 112.85 region. I'll be looking for probably some bullish divergence down here. Yes, indeed, we have 1, 2, 3 stabs. Thank you, Caretaker, for that one, and I'll be looking for this, yes, to pop back up somewhere around 112.80 to 112.90-ish region, short and medium term. And then weekly, I don't have any calls on this one on the weekly, actually. And probably we should be setting up for the monthly, which opens up in another 3 days. So fair enough right there. Anyways, what do we have? Euro dollar over here, my least favorite one that always fucking moons. and what do we see? Daily actually would have already played out the upside move that I would have been looking for today. I'd be looking for this one to just kind of trade sideways in a range here. I don't really have a natural proclivity on this one as it is. Range is pretty damn well defined and pretty damn obvious. So I'd just be buy on support, sell on resistance. However, short term it would be a little bit more downside angled, I suppose. Same thing with the daily and the weekly. The weekly still bullish, to be fair. Golden cross on the weekly right here, getting back above, or actually, coming out of this 119 base right here. I mean, it's still kind of hard not to see this one test around 123.5 to 124.5 long term. Then that was our long term target coming out of this base area right here at about 119. Anyways, moving on to pound yen, what do we see? 140, and on the weekly. Weekly is very interesting here. Weekly I can go either way on. This would be a phenomenal area to put in a long-term top in, as it is following our long-term top since January 2018 as well. Getting right here, 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 and then once again testing it right here as momentum oscillators are somewhat neutral. So I do look at that as... Well, shit. I mean, we have so many competing narratives going on right here. What about daily jewel on this one? It's switching into a bearish posturing, but it's not a sell signal. Looking at structure on the daily, it's actually still constructive. So I probably would be looking for another test towards 141 and 17 cents. What about on the low-term time frames? Low-term time frames are sideways and down. However, I don't have a strong call on this one. The only thing that I'd feel comfortable on this one would actually be short-term downside back down towards 139 region. Daily and weekly, I mean, technically speaking, this is typically where we put in highs on this one, so I'd probably be more defensive against that. Maybe tries another move towards 141, but I'd be defensive on this one. Pound dollar, what do we see? We do see kind of a similar chart right here, actually potentially even breaking above that long-term diagonal resistance, but I don't really trust that level right there because it's not even 2 fucking touches, so that does not constitute a trend. That is some Jesus toast right there. On a daily, what do we see? We do actually daily's still bullish here. Daily I'd still be gunning for whatever this target is right here. Let me pull this down. 137.95 region. What about on a 4 hour? We do see a little bit of downside on the 4 hour. So, short term, maybe a little bit more downside back down towards 134.25 or so. However, daily, I do still think gives another try to the upside and then game on somewhere around that region. So short term down, medium term likely up. Weekly, I don't have a call here. Very similar to what we see on pound yen, actually. Very similar, but this one actually a little more stronger. NASDAQ, do we have new all-time highs? We got new all-time highs, baby. Still looking at that 2-spot extension towards 13,150. Looking good right there. I remain with my bullishness on this one, and that likely does bode well for Bitcoin. Continuation. What about gold? We got 1885. I still stick with my 1950 short-term target, or I guess more medium-term target, with the 2030 or 2050 more long-term target. Still looking at the weekly playing out hidden bullish divergence down here, plus momentum oscillators turning up at the same time. I really like that read. I would be looking for this one to head up once again. Bitcoin, what do we see over here? So following up from this morning's analysis, do we see that move to the downside that we were looking for? I was looking a little bit lower than that. 26,300, I believe, is what I said on this morning's video. We got down to 26,4 something rather, and close enough is close enough in this regards. However, here's the next big thing that I'd be looking for right now. If we do see 4-hour momentum oscillators turn back up, especially if it coincides with the break above the top side of the short-term range, which, as we identified earlier today, would be right here in line with the 3-spot 618 Fibonacci extension at 27,650, then I would be looking for the next melt up phase. Yes, the 4-spot extension is 28,800. I don't think that really means much of anything. I very rarely see that one play off, if ever. If thinking about it, I can't recall one situation where it actually has put off that. However, the 4-spot 236, very big one right here, and that would be right under 30,000 bucks. And again, I would look for that target to be initiated if and only if Bitcoin closes a 4-hour delta above 27,650. Guess where momentum oscillators turn back up on the 4-hour would be up with a closure above 27,420, actually, good number right there. And as you can see right here, we do see a regression between the last few lows going all the way down to early December, the 9th of December, when Bitcoin was coming out of the $18,000 base all the way over here, I believe it was. Yes, indeed, it was right over here. And that trend line is connected with these lows coming out of this next base at 22 to 23,000 bucks. And once again, we could be testing that region probably even as soon as the next 4-hour total closure. Well, now it'd still take a couple more, but as you can see, naturally the momentum, as it does gain more and more over time, this trend line will naturally be more and more aggressive. So you first you see it like this, and you see it like this, and you see it like this. We've seen this plenty of times. I think the last one that I recall was a 12-hour trend line that we identified about a month and a half to 2 months ago. That played out for like literally 2 to 3 months, which was quite nice. And I would be looking for the 4-hour to do something relatively similar here as well. So I want to see that accompanied by price action breaking above this level. Then I would still have that target. By the same token, to the downside, I would be looking for any sort of a 4-hour total closure, not below this level right here. I think that one's a little bit more finicky. This one right here, in line with the 3-spot extension, right around 25,750, which is on that spike low that we did see on the 27th of December. Then yes, I would be looking for a pretty nasty downside move, at the very least down to 24,500. I would be looking for a short-term bounce there, but very unlikely things would stop there. I'd be looking for another meltdown, another $600 to 23,900 right here, and then potential bigger bounce being put in right around that region that I want to see in real time. But as it stands right now, still sideways within this region is still constructive, still good. I do understand that things look and act absolutely fucking insane right now, but at the end of the day, I would not be surprised if this one goes for another blow off top here. We do see that volume is waning on this rally, however, so I am defensive against this rally because it will turn again. This rally will turn down, and it will turn down fucking aggressively. But for right now, still, I would be biased towards the upside. And the next biggest piece of information that I'd say that would supersede everything that I said on the lower term timeframes would be right over here on the secondary charts, on the 3-day time frame, on the Bollinger Bands, which is closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If we do see it close above the topside Bollinger Band once again, which is currently situated at 26,000 even, then I would be looking for new highs on this run, probably targeting around that $30,000 region for the next major one. And then I want to see it in real time after that. And again, that closed at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today, and that will set in the buys for the next few days. So with that in mind, I do want to wish you the best once again. Take care, and until next time.